Welcome to the Restore Podcast, a place where we talk about healing, hope, and standing against injustice. We share stories of people who've been hurt and how they found peace again. We also speak up about human trafficking, helping to raise awareness and offer support. Join us as we learn, grow, and restore hope, one conversation at a time. Hello, and thank you for joining us on Restore today. Today, I have a wonderful person. I have known her for many years. She is a brave woman of God, and I would like to introduce everyone to Angela Turner. Angela, can you share a
Ah,
little bit about your background and what led you to this?
yeah. I am a mother, I'm a wife. Me and my husband, we had kind of an unconventional journey to marriage. So I really feel like we have been called and led to speak about it, talk to people, connect with people, and drop nuggets and knowledge about it. We Because of our unconventional journey, we have had the blessed opportunity to build our family in a very unique way with siblings as our children to raise them. I also have adopted siblings that we've raised, but we have two children that I've given birth to. I have a 14-year-old son and a 4-year-old daughter, and now still I have my 19-year-old sister who is in college who is here with us. Yeah, living with us here. So
Oh, right.
that's a
That
little
is
bit.
beautiful.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
is beautiful. So today's topic is about marriage, and
Hmm.
this is a good topic because I know you're very knowledgeable on it. So why do you think marriage is such an important topic for the church to address today?
I believe marriage is such an important topic for the church to address because the word clearly has given us so many guidelines and tools and knowledge when it comes to doing marriage the right way. And I just think it's been misconstrued for so long, and just what marriage is about, what it's for, what it should look like, and how we go through a life of marriage. But we do have, people say there is no guidebook, there is no manual. Yeah, the word is a manual,
Amen. Right.
for marriage. So, yeah,
Okay.
I think it's
So
important.
what are some of the most effective ways that the church can strengthen and support marriage?
Some of the effective ways I believe, I just from personal experience,
Mhm.
me and my husband, we've had the opportunity to be marriage coaches for about 15 years. And having a marriage coach, someone that can guide you and give you godly advice, is, I think, a huge asset. Also, along with it, just um, having someone there, your pastor, whoever's teaching you, giving you the word, unfiltered, uncut, like the true word, and encouraging individuals, even before you're married,
Mhm.
um, to dive into the word for yourself, have a
Mhm.
relationship with God, understand who you are as an individual first and what He's calling you to do as
Mhm.
just a Christian in singledom before you even enter marriage. I think it's also important to be a part of communities of people that are married. Y'all are going walking the same path together, so you
Mhm.
can have encouragement
Yeah.
when, because we're going to veer off at times. There are going to be things that happen in our lives
Yeah.
that are unexpected,
Yeah.
and you want people to surround you that are going to lift you up and give you
Mhm.
honest, true advice. It's going to help get you back on the path. So,
Yeah. Yeah. That's very true. I always tell people that marriage comes in waves,
oh
you
yeah.
know,
Mhm.
and so the goal is to get out of the low point as quickly as possible so you can get
Mhm.
back,
Mhm.
into your rhythm. But
Mhm.
sometimes it goes like this, and sometimes you have a lower point than usual. But the goal is to get back to the stable rhythm.
I agree.
Um, yeah.
Mhm.
So how can premarital counseling within the church help couples establish a strong foundation?
You know, it's such a pleasure to be able to coach premarital couples because I think first, I kind of liken it to going to the doctor and getting a checkup
Yeah.
because I think it's so important for the mirror to be held up
Hmm.
to us. You want to first understand why you really want to be married,
Hmm.
why you want to be married to this person in particular.
Hmm.
Are you well fit to be with
Yeah.
this person? Um, are you meant to be married?
Yeah.
Everybody, now the word does tell us if you desire to be intimate, well, then you should
Married.
be married.
Yeah.
Um, I think just even when I say, are you meant to be married? Are you meant to be married in that season?
Mm.
Of
Yeah.
life that you're in, no matter what you're going through, or are there some things that need to be worked out individually first?
Yeah.
Also, it's really important to unpack some of those unsaid expectations in marriage, or even
Yeah.
what's your definition of marriage, and does that line up with what the word says marriage
Yeah.
is, and what does marriage look like for the two of you? Just
Right.
because you see marriage as something in particular and your spouse sees marriage as something in particular does not mean that that is what it's going to look like for the two of you. So what does that look like for you two, and also giving them the tools to use within marriage as they're preparing for marriage when there's conflict, being able to have constructive conflict and
Yeah.
have effective communication. And that doesn't just mean that we're talking, but we're listening and we're taking
Yeah.
in what our partner is saying and using it to help us grow and help us move forward in the marriage, because we want to continue to build and know that we are ever changing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Because so many times people think that the person that you're marrying is going to be the person, they're going to remain the same forever. And
yeah,
that's definitely not the case.
not the
You know,
case.
many times men are marrying this little girl, but she's
Mhm,
going to grow up. She's going to become a woman. She's going to
mhm,
become a mother, and she is
mhm,
going to evolve and transition. And the same for that man.
mhm.
He is going to start off, you're going to, if you're young, sometimes you're not, you get older in life, but
Yeah.
stereotypically you're young, you have a head full of hair, and marriage, you know what I mean? You're thin,
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden these things happen. You get
yeah,
older, you
yeah,
you get thick in the middle, and
yeah.
you're thin up top, and life happens. So you got to be prepared for that evolution
Yeah,
of aging. You
yeah.
know,
And not
um,
just evolution in aging, evolution in experience and situation. People get sick, we lose parents, we lose
right,
children, finances waver and wane. So, just there's
right,
so many facets of life that can transition and change. So we have to be prepared.
absolutely, absolutely. Um, So, have you ever encountered situations where the church knowingly or unknowingly hurt marriages?
I can't speak of a time where the church has knowingly, not in my experience, can I say
Mhm,
that I've seen the church knowingly hurt a marriage, but
mhm.
um, I can say there have been situations where one or both um, uh, people involved, of the two in a couple, have maybe overexerted their time when it came to ministry or church and
Mhm.
neglected their family because of
Yeah,
it. And that is not what God desires. The word clearly tells us that we have to first take care of our family, love God,
right.
love your wife and your family. Then you will be, because I mean, if we're not able to take care of our family, how can we then build the house of God?
Yeah,
Um, so
absolutely.
it's so important that we balance that. Yes, he wants us to serve. Yes, he wants us to be involved, but not at the detriment of our family. So
That's right. Your family's your first ministry.
yes,
Right.
yes, it is.
Amen to that. That is so very true.
Mhm.
So how can teachings about submission or gender roles or
Mhm.
divorce sometimes be misinterpreted or misapplied in ways that harm?
Oh my goodness. This is a this just topic is a doozy, I think, because
Mhm.
it's so many. It's also multifaceted. I think the understanding of submission has kind of been misconstrued and misunderstood and misinterpreted. Now, first, let me explain. I have no issue with the word submission. I have no issue with being submissive. Not saying I'm always that, you know,
Mhm.
I work toward that. But I think um, when things are misconstrued and
Mhm.
misunderstood, that's when abuse enters into the picture.
Yeah.
Um, and yes, we are called as wives to submit to our husbands,
Mhm. What
but
does that word submit mean, though?
submit, and it's something that you say that, well, I think submit is to come under, and I was looking at too, even not just submit, but submit to the head,
Mhm.
which the husband should be the head, right? But
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
head means um, the source, right?
Mhm. Okay.
The order, the leader.
Yeah. I
That's
I
the
can see so
head.
many people walls just going up.
Yeah,
Before the walls go up, please hear her out. Hear her out. She's gonna land. Give
I
her a
am,
chance.
because I have no issue, like I said before, with submission. I think this is also where your picker makes a big difference when it comes to who you marry.
Mhm.
Because I can even remember when dating my husband, one of the things that I said to him over and over and over again was, I will not submit to a man that does not submit to God. Because the
Mhm.
word calls for the man, even though it calls for the wife to submit to the husband, it also
Yeah.
calls for the man to love and sacrifice for his wife, just as
Right.
Jesus did for the church. Jesus sacrificed his life, he gave his life, he covered the church in love and forgiveness. And, so
Mhm.
I think a lot of times when that word submit enters the conversation, we leave out the part of the love and sacrifice that the husband is called to do. And if
Mhm.
a wife is truly submitting to a husband that is doing his part, his first action, his thought is, what am I doing to cover and sacrifice and love my wife and family? And if he's doing that, I still end up coming up first.
Yeah.
if,
Yeah.
if my husband is doing what he is called to do, and I'm going to submit to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to submit because I know he's talking to God about the choices that he's making. He's
Mhm.
not just making choices that will benefit him solely, they're going to
Mhm.
benefit me and my family as well.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
Mhm.
it's easier for me to submit to a man that I know is going before God and asking him what decision I should be making in this situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I think to break things down, submission, um, in so many words, just means to have a teachable spirit, meaning that you're willing to listen,
Yeah.
and that's it. It's not none of that sadomasochism submission stuff that some people mistake
Yeah.
submission to mean. But you're listening to your husband.
I'm open to, yeah, what he
Yeah, and you're willing to hear what he has to say. That's
Yeah.
that's submitting. You're listening to him,
Mhm.
but as far as like submit, doesn't mean that he can tell me to go and take a nap.
Right.
No, that's not what this is.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, thanks for that. Now, do you think the church sometimes pressure couples to stay in unhealthy or abusive relationships?
I think that can definitely be a scenario or experience for some couples. And I go back to, that's why it's important for you as an individual or as a couple to have a relationship with God um,
Hmm.
yourself, and to have a true understanding of what the word is saying.
Hmm.
Um, because, we talk about what the word says. And I think we have to make sure we're asking God for clarification and
Yeah,
interpretation on
yeah.
what he is calling us to do in our relationship. And going back to the core, was I obedient when it came to who God was calling me to be in relationship with?
That's very true because so many times I've heard so many people say, God, is he the one for me? And God will show you no,
Yeah.
but then you will stay with that person, or
Mhm.
God will send you red flags
Yes.
and you ignore every red flag. And then
Mhm.
you go on to marry this person and then wonder why things are going the way they're going.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, even in a marriage where you two are well fit and you know you're on the same page, it's still gonna be difficult. So just
Right.
imagine, making the decision to be in relationship with someone that you're unevenly yoked, you're unequally yoked,
Yeah,
you're
emotionally immature.
well, yeah, your emotional IQ isn't in the same place.
Mhm.
Your values aren't in the same place.
Mhm.
You're spiritually not in the same
Right.
place.
Right.
There's gonna most definitely be some issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
You
yeah,
know, because if you're in a relationship or you're dating a man and he's told you that he doesn't want any children,
yeah,
don't think that you can marry this man
he's gonna
in hopes
change.
of changing his mind. That's not how it works. That
No,
can be seen as manipulation. If he
mhm,
said he didn't want any kids, then respect that or move on.
respect it. Yeah, I agree 100%. We have to make those choices, and then when we make a choice that may not be befitting to us, we have to then move forward in the consequences and see what we are going
Right.
to do with the consequences that we have now placed ourselves in.
Right, right. So, how can leaders discern when separation or divorce is necessary for safety and well-being?
I think first doing your best to provide a space of of transparency for the person or the people that are in the relationship, and developing their relationship with them so they feel comfortable enough being honest. But I think simply body language sometimes when you're talking to someone can give you a lot, when they are in the presence of someone that may not be, putting them in a safe position. They may be in an abusive relationship, verbally, physically, emotionally, so be it,
Financially?
financially, yes, 100%. So I think trying your best to have relationship, and I think sometimes that's a key ingredient that's missing. I think people kind of check in and check the box at church instead of developing relationships with their congregants or the people that are attending the church. The leaders
Mhm.
aren't, they're kind of there, and then they're doling out the word and they're telling them what they should do, but they're not
Yeah,
really connecting with the people that are there. So there's a miss when it comes to being able to have those relationships, to give them the tools to be able to, step away or get
yeah,
themselves out of a dangerous situation or
yeah,
unsafe or unhealthy situation.
yeah. Now, uh, piggybacking off that, how can churches then create safe spaces for couples to talk openly about mental health or abuse or intimacy?
So, kind of going back to something that I said earlier, creating life groups.
Mm,
Um, having groups, and every group doesn't have to be soaked and doused in the word in the Bible, and it's just creating social situations with like-minded people where they can develop these relationships, and making sure that there's someone there that's equipped to connect them with the right people. I actually am a
yeah.
part of a group at my church where I kind of do this very thing with moms.
Hmm.
um, and I don't have any type of certification or anything when it comes to counseling, but I have been given resources to
Right.
connect my moms to someone that does have that, have the
Yeah.
credentials and the backing and the know-how to help
Mm,
counsel them through difficult situations. So I think creating those spaces through life groups, and like I was saying before, even with leadership, making sure that relationships there's an intentionality behind connecting with people, so you know what's going on with them, and you can kind of help nudge them in the right direction, um,
Yeah.
to get the help that they need, and just or foster them in even more positive relationships.
Yeah, yeah. And I think nowadays with the way technology is,
Mhm.
we could have like Zoom sessions,
We
Zoom
do,
meetings,
definitely.
where ladies can get together because sometimes it is so difficult to get away from the home.
That's true.
But if you can nip off to maybe your room for an hour,
Mhm.
then you can join in and ask questions, or if the pastor wants to, talk to these people, they could, have Zoom sessions. So that's something that's really good that has happened, you
Yeah,
know, since the lockdown. Technology is brilliant for things like that.
I agree.
Um, so what practical steps can churches take to better equip couples for the realities of marriage?
I think some practical steps, one in particular, providing resources like reading material, for them, to make sure they're taking in information that's biblically based to help them take into marriage and developing their relationship.
Mhm,
Um, Also, going back to creating the life groups,
mhm. Also,
providing.
oh, I'm
Go ahead.
sorry.
No,
I
you're
was
fine.
just gonna say also being an example. Like you and your husband are a wonderful example
Thank
to the people in your environment, you know what I mean? The people at
you.
your church.
Yeah,
Sometimes people learn from watching others. Like
100%.
they say, children don't listen to what you say, but they watch what you do. And they
Hmm.
see it, and people are seeing the dynamics between you and your husband
Yeah,
because so many people have not seen a healthy male female dynamic, you
it's
know.
true. It's
And
true.
so it is wonderful that your very existence,
Mhm.
you know what I mean, is
Yeah.
that um, blessing and provides that equipment that people need
Hmm.
to, face a reality of marriage. They see, okay, I know sister doesn't feel very well today. How's she conducting herself? Oh, she does this, that, her
Yeah.
husband does this,
Yeah.
oh, sister is, she's doing this or she's doing that, in spite of, and all of these things going on. Oh, look how she speaks to her husband. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Look how
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
conducts herself with her children. You're very good with that.
I
I
appreciate
just
that.
hats off to you. You
Thank
know,
you.
knowing
I
you for a long time, you are a wonderful person.
Oh, thank you. Same,
Sure.
same. Right back at you. Right back at you. I agree. That's a great point. And just to that, also, we are very intentional when it comes to opening our home,
Yeah.
um, to young couples, and not just. I think a lot of time, and being ourselves. We we do not put on an act or a particular face when we're in front of people. We are always ourselves. So
Yeah.
even when people come to our home, like, have dinner or we just kind of hang out, have a game night, they see us. They see us laughing. They see us having fun. They see us
Mhm.
kind of answer, go back and forth, having fun, kind of play with each other. And I think that makes a huge difference too, because they can now see, oh, maybe I've seen marriage one particular way in my
Yeah.
past, but now, oh, they have fun. They're actually friends.
Right.
They, like
Right.
this can happen. So
Right.
good example. So thank you so much for saying that. I
Yeah,
do.
yeah, no problem.
Mhm.
So, we're coming close to an end. Based on your experience, what's one piece of advice you give to couples who are struggling?
I'm sorry. Can you say that again? Piece
So,
of
based
advice.
on your experience, what's one piece of advice that you give to couples who are struggling?
Hmm. This sounds so simple to people, I know, but I've given this advice over and over again, and I've seen it work over and over again. Be honest with each other and pray together.
Mm,
Um, that praying for your spouse, not just praying, well, Lord, I want our marriage to work out. I want us to be happy. No, what's going on with your spouse? Praying for them, praying for their covering, praying for their mindset, praying for their growth, praying for
Right.
the togetherness to open their eyes, heart, ears,
Right.
trying to help them be healed in whatever area that they may be hurting or,
That is so
um,
true.
have past traumas or,
Yeah. And
Mm.
also to reveal the secret things about you because
Yes.
marriage is a two-way street.
Oh,
And
yes.
sometimes we get so caught up in praying for our spouse, Lord, work on him for this, work on
Work
him for
on
that,
me.
work on him. But Lord, what's wrong with me? Maybe
Work on
maybe
me.
he's feeding off some energy that I'm putting out. Maybe he's
Work
picking
on
up
me.
what I'm putting down. So Lord,
100%.
reveal to me the secret
Yes.
things of
To
my
me.
heart.
Yes.
Am I doing something wrong that's triggering him? You know what I
Yes.
mean? To shut
Yes.
down and not talk to me.
Yes.
And
Yes.
maybe God says, maybe you talk too much.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yes.
maybe you're too aggressive at things,
Mhm. The
you
way you
know,
communicate.
stand down,
Yes. Yes.
let him step up. You know
Uh,
what I mean?
uh-huh.
Give him a chance
Yeah.
to do things.
Yeah. And
It's amazing how God works like
I
that.
agree. And actually that's why I say pray for your spouse. Because
Mhm.
9 times out of 10, if you pray for your spouse, the Holy Spirit will reveal to you what's going on with you.
Right, right, right. And you got to be willing to accept it. Again, that submission part. Be
Yes,
willing to listen,
yes, you
because it's not always an easy here,
oh no.
that you are the drama, you are the problem.
Mhm.
Sometimes we are, sometimes we're not.
Sometimes we
Sometimes we are.
mhm. I think too also to that, if we get focused on serving each other,
Mm,
we both win. Because if I'm busy serving you and you busy serving me,
yeah.
the selfishness, it's a little bit easier to allow that to go past and we still get what we need and some of what we want if we
Hmm.
both focus on making sure each other is okay. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well, Angela, I thank you so much for joining us on today and speaking about marriage. This has been provided us with a wealth of information, and I am sure that the watchers, the viewers, will be so blessed by this. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me. This was such a pleasure. Happy to speak about it anytime. Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of Restore today. If this episode resonated with you, please subscribe, share, and help spread awareness of the message of healing and awareness. Remember Isaiah 61:1 as we continue to restore hope and freedom in the lives of those who need it the most. Together, we can make a difference, one story, one life, and one step at a time. Until next time, may God's peace and restoration be with you.